What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to His and Herbs. I'm Corey, and this is Keisha. Sorry, the sun is like crucial right now. So we're out here checking on the garden. This is our first time being out here all day today. It's like 3:15 maybe. It's first time being out here. But what I wanted to do is today I wanted to show you how to set up your container garden. It's real simple, real easy, and I'm actually surprised that more people didn't know about it because it seems to be a common or popular thing. Trying to get in there?
I was, but I need to stand on a bucket.
So basically what happened is on November 5th we were part of the fall garden tour, and when people came they were really amazed at how we managed to grow things in containers. And some, we even had some people say they never even considered it, never even crossed their minds. So and then after that, someone tried to contact us and ask us like, how did we set everything up? So I just thought that, I was like, well, I take it for granted that, because we knew about it and we do it, so I took it for granted that everybody knew about it and did it. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna just go ahead and walk you through our setup, so that if you're new to container gardening, or you plan on implementing it into your garden, then you can have some good steps to go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and knock it out. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into this real quick. So first and foremost, what you trying to?
I'm here and then I'm gone.
she's in and out. She's
stuff
here
to do, y'all.
and then she's back.
I got stuff. House to do.
All right. So I mean, you can go ahead. No pressure.
Hey,
no pressure.
I disappear when I need to.
All right. Cool. So real quick, I just wanted to go over some reasons as to why you would want to do a container garden. One of those reasons would be space. If you don't have enough space in your garden, maybe you've used up all the horizontal land, all the horizontal space, and now it's time to do like they do in New York and big cities. They go up with the buildings, right? Yeah. So with the container gardens, especially the 5-gallon buckets, you can actually stack those depending on what you have in them. You can stack them and you can start to go up. Another reason would be to control your soil mix. So out here we have really bad soil. I don't think it has any kind of organic matter or organic life in it. It's just a bunch of crushed up rocks. That's honestly what I think it is.
It's like beach sand.
Yeah, not even, man.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's worse. I think if you fall in beach sand,
right,
it's not gonna hurt as bad. But if you fall in this
yeah.
stuff, whoo,
scraped up.
whoo, yeah, it's gonna be pretty painful. So yeah, man. So like, if you want to control your soil, like maybe if you have bad soil, putting things in containers will allow.
Me?
What happened?
Someone's biting me.
She being attacked, y'all. She being attacked by
my shoestring.
by her shoestring. But you can actually control your soil by what you put in your container. Which, if you want to know how to make a pretty good potting mix, I'm gonna put a link in somewhere in here about a video that we did about how to make your own growing medium, your own soil, all that good stuff, right? But you can control your soil that way. So if you need it to be a little bit more acidic, less acidic, the more nutrients of a certain mineral, stuff like that, right?
You can control all that.
You can control all that. Another reason would be if you're growing tropical plants like pineapples, bananas, like we're doing, right? So because they can't take the winters up here, we can just pick them up, take them in the house.
Right inside.
Right inside, right? And we just sit them by the brightest window in the house, and they still get the sunlight, but they don't get the cold and the frost, exactly. So that was space, tropical, control the soil, and
not enough. Oh yeah, you said space. That was the first one.
And there was one more. I can't remember what it is now, but
rotation, or being able to.
Right, there you go. If you don't want to, okay, for example, right? We like greens, we love greens, we want to grow greens all year. So we don't want to put them in a space where we can put something else, because
like our rows.
In our rows or some other raised bed, because we may want to put something else there next spring, right? Or next fall. So rather than pulling the greens out, we put them in the containers so they can just stay. That's their container.
They can grow year after year.
Year after year in the same container, right? That's their dedicated space to grow. So we're not going to take it out. The only time it's going to come out is if it stops producing. If it stops growing, if it dies, then it's got to go, right? It's going to get evicted. Getting out of here, right? But aside from that, it's going to stay in that container. So those are some of the reasons why you want to have a container garden. And container gardens are like wonderful, man. Like people do nothing but containers, right? Containers and grow bags. It's very much possible to get exactly what you want out of container. You don't have to go on the ground. So yeah, so now let's let's talk about the containers themselves. You can use different things for containers, right? For your container garden. You have things like this big black thing, which a lot of people use this size tubs. These are actual planters, and then we got 5-gallon buckets. You know, the containers don't. It doesn't like. There's so many. There's a large variety of containers that you can use. That you don't have to be limited to just one type of container or one size of container. Okay. So these are the containers. When you're picking out your containers, you want to make sure that your containers are BPA free. Right. Turn that one around. I think this one has a sticker on it. Let's see. No sticker. All right. So I know this one has one. So you want it to be BPA free. Like this one here, I got this one from Tractor Supply, right? See how that says BPA free right there, right there. You want them to be BPA free if possible, right? Because what happens is if they're not BPA free, they tend to break down in the sun a little bit faster than the ones that are BPA free. So if you get the ones from Home Depot and Lowe's, check this out. Where's it at? A lot of those buckets that I had, they started to fall apart on us. Here we go. Like it's not even orange anymore. So this is a Home Depot. This is a Home Depot bucket, right? But so is this one. You see it's not even the same color. And you see how it started to fall apart around the edges? And just by grabbing it, enough said, right? Enough said. So BPA, I guess BPA, I mean, not BPA. I keep saying BPA free. What I mean to say is food grade. So when you get the buckets that are food grade, then supposedly they last a little bit longer in the sun, right? So if you can do that, do that. And you can find them at restaurants, obviously. If you go to like a Firehouse Subs or any place that sells pickles, bakeries, even you can go to like some Walmart, some in-store bakeries, and they'll have the BPA-free buckets, and sometimes they'll give them to you. Sometimes they'll charge $1, but that's better than paying like $5 per bucket, depending on wherever else you go, right? So yeah, so when you're picking out your buckets, make sure you want BPA-free also, but food-grade buckets is essentially what you want, all right? Your planters, don't need to say much about that. That's what they're made for. Don't need to go into a whole lot of detail about that. And then that's it. Now these things here, these containers, these bins, this is a 27-gallon bin, and I've never seen one of these bins break down in the weather. Like this was out all year, the same as the buckets, but this thing has yet to want to show any signs of deterioration, right? The same thing with the planter. Right? These things, over time, they're gonna just break down, okay? So make sure you get, like I said, food grade, and if you can, BPA-free containers. Now, things to consider about your planters is make sure you get the right planter for the right plant. That's very important. So this is either a collard green or a cabbage. I don't know. We've kind of lost track. But it looks good, right? For something growing in a container. And we just planted these right after we did the video about what we're going to grow this fall. And look at it. Check it out. Let me see. Can we get it? There we go. Looks pretty good, right? Now, we can't grow something like that has a deep root system like the greens or the cabbages or the tomatoes, melons, whether it's cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon. We can't grow those things. We can't grow those things in small buckets, small containers like this, right? The root system is going to be way too deep, way too long. So either A is it's not going to survive in that bucket, or it's going to survive, but it's just not going to produce the way that you would like for it to produce. And I know that everybody that's gardening is gardening with the expectation that you get something to eat out of it, right? I know I am anyway. So make sure you pick the right container for the right size plant. That way it has plenty of room to grow. Like this right here, this is a 22-inch planter. There's no doubt in my mind that this and this will be ideal for things like melons, cantaloupe. We actually had a cantaloupe growing in one this size, and that thing did really good. Like, I was impressed by it. It looked like, almost like a store-bought melon. So am I going to do that again next year? Absolutely. But these two, ample space. This is plenty of space for collard greens, for cabbages, stuff like that, right? Now, when you're actually prepping your 5-gallon buckets or your containers, we want to talk about drainage hose real quick. It's important that you have drainage hose. Now, your planter, you ain't got to worry about it. It's going to come with it. Now, some planters do come with those holes sealed up, and you just got to drill a hole in it. No big deal, right? But things like this bin was not designed for planting, even though we use it, and the bucket, right? So you're going to have to put drainage holes in those containers. But that's no problem. So as you can see here, in this 5-gallon bucket, right, I have a drainage hole here. That's about, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 of an inch drill bit. There's one, there's two right here. Three, and four. 4 holes. That's all I put into that 5-gallon bucket. It's just 4 holes, and it does exceptionally well, right? And as you can see how high these things are, I put them roughly, let me see if we can, there we go. I put them roughly a hand's width from the bottom of the bucket up, and I put my hole. And the reason I do that, the great thing about having that hole that high is when you water, especially here in the desert, right? When you water, it's gonna get extremely hot in the summer. This thing is gonna dry out really fast. So it creates, having the hole that high, the drainage holes that high, creates a reservoir of basically wet soil. So then that way your soil is going to maintain some level of moisture until this bottom portion dries out. And that works wonderfully, especially for things like tomatoes and bell peppers, where you run the risk of getting blossom end rot if they continue to dry out repeatedly, right? This worked really good for the tomatoes last year. All right, so yeah, so that's that for the 5-gallon bucket. Now, in something like this, I'm gonna do the same thing, but maybe I'm gonna put 3 holes on the short side, and maybe 4 to 6 holes on the side, on the long side. And the reason why I put my holes in the side and not the bottom is because I've learned that if you put them on the bottom, the roots are gonna chase the water, and it's gonna come out of the bottom of the container. So a planter like this, with the holes in the bottom, the roots are going to come out of here, and they're going to go into the native soil, right? And then in order for me to move this planter, I'm going to have to rip all those roots out, and I don't want that. I had that happen with a tomato plant a couple of years ago. So that's the reason why I put my holes on the side of the container. Creates that reservoir, and it keeps the roots from going down into the soil where it's sitting, so that I can move it at my leisure. You know, I feel really bad when I have to move a plant, a container, and the roots are in the ground, and I have to rip those. I feel like that's like violence in some way, right? And I don't want to be violent to anything in my garden, because I want it to treat me and my family right? So, yeah. So we put our holes in the bottom, in the side of the containers instead of the bottom, for those 2 reasons. Now, This is something that's really, really important for you guys to understand. If this is your first time doing a container garden, or if you have container gardens but haven't considered it already, I doubt it, because I'm sure that you've run across this and you've learned this probably the hard way, like I did. When you're in a container garden, when you're planting in containers, you are that plant's sole source of nutrition and water, right? That's it. It doesn't, like, if you plant in the ground, if you're like on the East Coast and you have nice lush fertile ground, fertile soil, your plants in the ground they're gonna get nutrients from the soil. The moisture level is gonna be there because it's gonna be maybe a little bit more damp under that soil. But in these things, you're gonna have a tendency of drying out a little bit faster. So it's gonna be a little bit, probably more frequent watering, and definitely have to pay attention to your feeding schedule, because whatever fertilizers you put in the soil or whatever compost you use, remember, every time you water, you're rinsing some of that stuff away, so it's going to slowly leach out of the soil. So you have to keep putting it back, right? So you're going to have to make sure that these things stay fertilized. You fertilize these things as often as you can, right? I know fertilizing can be expensive, especially if you're using like the fish emulsion, because you're gonna, like, we go through a bottle maybe a week, 2 weeks, right? Maybe two. Yeah, we go through. Yeah, I'm kind of selfish with because I want it to last a little bit, but we'll go through a bottle in like a week or two, right? But I'm the sole source of food and water for anything in my container, so I have to make sure that this stuff stays hydrated, it stays moist, it stays fertilized, right? And you're gonna have to do the same thing. So you're gonna have to pay attention to your soil mix when you make it or when you buy it, whichever one you choose, that you buy the right things for the container garden, right? There's things in the container garden mix, the container mix, that's not gonna be in like your ground mix, or more of it rather. It may be the same stuff, but it's gonna be a higher percentage of it. Like you may have some water retention, things that have high water retention in your potting mix or your container mix versus your in-ground mix. So you have to definitely pay attention to that, right? Make sure you get the right soil mix, the right soil for the container, right? Now, it's funny that I'm saying all that, right? Because in the winter, now that it's colder, I don't have to water my containers as much as I water the stuff in the ground, because our ground is so, I don't even know what to call it, man, but it's just, I don't know, but it doesn't hold moisture well. So we have to water the stuff in the rows and in the ground way faster, way more frequently than we water the stuff in the containers. Speaking of which, that's what she's doing right now. Exactamundo. So this stuff here, man, like, check this out. We watered, what's today, Wednesday? We missed Monday. We watered Saturday. Check this out. Oh, battery dead. My bad, guys. Camera battery died on the other camera. So check this out. Look at this. I just watered Saturday, man. And look how dry that is. Just watered Saturday. But if I come over here to the container, right? Let's go back to this container here. If I come over here to this container, let's see if I can get in there without breaking Look at that. It's moist. It's moist. And one thing that you can do to tell if your container is dry or not, whether or not you need the water, all you gotta do is try to move it. See, this got a lot of resistance. Watch this. See that? It's a lot of weight to it, right? Versus, let me see if I can find one that's dry. Like this. This is something that I'm making up over here. I mixed up. It took me like no effort to turn that over. You see that? Like that was super light compared to the other one. That one's dry. That one's getting dry. Look at that, that's heavy. And this one is heavy, and it doesn't even have as much soil in it as these two. Right? The soil is that high in here. Look at how low that one is. This is heavy. So guys, those are just some tips and tricks to help you have success in your container garden. I'm hoping that I hope that everybody found this video useful. Right? I'm excited about this fall. Everything looks like it's doing pretty good, and like, yeah, the turnout is wonderful. So if you guys appreciate this content, if you guys enjoyed this content, if you learned something today, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the like, subscribe button, and let us know if you're growing anything in containers. Let us know if there's anything that you're growing, like what's your success been like growing in containers. All right, so aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys watching us, and we'll catch you in the next video. Love y'all. Deuces.